So welcome to the final race of the season, and you can see that Michael carries the initiative into this after a very momentous final third of the season. He sits there with a 4-point lead with 2 more wins, and basically if Ralph wins the race, Michael needs a podium. Ralph needs at least 4th place, provided Michael doesn't get into the points. But it's fairly straightforward. Beat Michael by 2, 3 or 4 places, and that's what Ralph needs to win the title. Michael just needs to track his brother, and Villeneuve, he's hanging in there, but it's forlorn, isn't it? 9 points, 10 available. He's within that 10-point gap, so it's possible, but also you have to remember how feisty the BARs can be. But it's probably going to be between the brothers, and what better way to end the season? Williams will be very, very frustrated about what's happened in the Constructors, because at one point I think they were 19, 18 points clear of Ferrari, and it's sat at 5. And Ferrari have the extra race win, but the podiums obviously favour Williams. You got that one DNF for Ferrari where Michael and DC clashed at Monaco. BAR are still in this. 10 points is extremely achievable. Whether the grid supports them or not, we shall see. But we have a 3-way battle for the cons, and it's looking pretty decent. Anything can happen there. So importantly, here is the grid. Now you can see that Ralph has got a lot of work to do, and there's some cars in there that are not slouches, especially if they're in clear air. Button's one of them, Raikkonen's another, Heidfeld's a third. So he needs to get off the line well, bite into those positions quickly and start looking for that 4th place. Once he gets into that 4th place, he can start working his way to the lead, but that's not easy. He's got his teammate playing shotgun for him, which is a real result, and Michael is nowhere. But the problem is Michael has the points on the board and Ralph has got to do the work. So we shall see how Japan plays out in terms of overtaking. But that's exciting. There's a lot of work to do there, and the track is kind of quirky. So you can see that Villeneuve is actually the closest contender of the 3 that can actually win this thing, down in 17th, with Michael down at the bottom. Really, it looks worse than it is for Michael. I mean, he needed to win these races to get himself in this position, so taking this pain is not a problem, and winning that last race has given him a 5-point. He's really got an advantage here, because we don't know what's going to happen in this race. It doesn't look easy to overtake here, so that's not the end of the world, him back there. Panis is sort of running a nice kind of... He's running in that position ahead of his teammate, but he's got Hakkinen between them, so usually that little BAR trick of hunting together is going to be a little bit kiboshed by the McLarens, I think. But we'll see, because those 2 are more than capable of passing quicker cars and smashing their way up the field. But anyway, we're going into the last race of the season. If you've managed to hang the whole thing out, congratulations. This has been my first attempt at something like this, so it will get better as we go into 2002, as I get a little bit more confident with what I'm doing. Editing the videos down a little bit more as well, and we'll get the bonus of the replay at the next race, so we can actually have a look at what goes on. But this has been a fun season. It's been quite close, it's been quite tight, and we haven't really had a situation where anyone has dominated. We still got a title battle going into the last race, and 3 people can win it. So fair play to 2001. This has been really cool, and settle back and enjoy the last race of this first little season experiment.
We're at the superb Suzuka race circuit in Japan.
Final day of terms, folks. Bring your games in. There'll be drinks, fizzy drinks, sugar.
In pole position, we have Luciano Berti.
And other calcifying agents.
Third place is Gaston Mazzacane. And
Poor old Marquez.
Fourth position for Jenson Button.
So we're going to
position for Jos Verstappen.
get a skewed
And sixth spot is Kimi
graphic here.
Räikkönen. Eddie
Oh,
Irvine
he barely made it into the screen before we dashed off to 7th place. So Button may be the favourite here. Verstappen might go with him. Kimi's, yeah, I just think Button's got the legs on both those 2. Heidfeld, he's racy when he gets to the points.
12th.
Goodness me, Ralph, you've got a job to do here.
Coulthard is in 13th.
Get into first place. And then Michael needs 4th.
In 15th
3rd.
spot we have
Win the race,
Dennis.
Michael needs a podium.
Mika Häkkinen is in 16th.
But anything else
Jacques
is
Villeneuve
mathematically...
picks up 17th
There he is, look, there's the
place.
contender. That's Juan Pablo.
Position for Rubens Barrichello.
These are the sleeping,
Thanks, Harold Frenson.
I wouldn't say giants,
20th is
but they're the dark horses for the Cons, but they just got run out of it a little bit, BAR, but they got the double score last time. It's just, what was it? It was only about 5 points. So I think they're still a good 9, maybe 8 or 9 points behind Williams in the constructors. It appears that we are already coming to the grid. I know there's a bit of backwash in the sound, how I've got it set up in the primitive manner that I have, but I'm not going to change it, I'm going to leave it how it is. The kibosh. So we'll have a look at the front, but we're not really interested in the front. Now I'm interested in, because I can't remember, and I haven't seen PSL's video yet around here, how the overtaking is. Absolutely stormed into the lead there, as you'd expect, Bertie, and he's a bit of a blocker. We have got a lot of corners. There is a lot of opportunity for the big guns to stick noses. You see, Ralph's already having a look at people. As Michael got off the back, no, that's Michael at the back there, jumped the gun. So Bertie, Marquez, and is that already buttered? Oh wow, oh, he didn't want to do that. Right, so we've got a problem corner here. And goodness me, that could cause some issues if people are running wide there. So, yeah, the reverse grid championship that you can watch on YouTube of this button is dominating the first 2/3 of the season for me with Villeneuve and maybe. But Bertie's dominating the first 2/3 of this race. And there's a Williams, so that's Ralph. And, oh, look at Button. Oh, don't be silly, Ralph. Look at these guys. And Button's hit the wall, and what is Ralph doing? Ralph. Oh, and this is a dangerous circuit. And look at Michael, he's made a whole bunch of places. Oh dear. That's the first time this season we've seen Ralph doing some dumb stuff. And look, he's barnstormed past a load of people. How was Heidfeld in? Wow. So he's come to race, he's come to dominate the Sauber team. Because he's right on Raikkonen's tail, I think, after being behind him most of the season. Oh dear, what happened to Ralph? Ralph ended up sliding back out of the points. And he'd made it up to about 6th, I think. And then just did that. Wow, I mean, Button did it as well, and Button hit the wall. He still only somehow is in 4th place. I saw Michael in the background already pushing Rubens, and Ralph is still. And Ralph is overdriving. Look, these guys can't keep it on the island. And Michael's up to 17th from 22nd, so he's made 5 places. And Heidfeld's going to start hassling, but it's now Heidfeld's the favourite for this race. Oh my goodness me, that's a McLaren, and that's a Williams, and it's Ralph. And someone's had a big off, and I didn't see where Pablo was either. And it's Michael! And Michael's hit someone and lost his front wing. Crucialities in the World Championship, but it's still in Michael's favour. And we followed Michael into the pit so we can't see what's going on in the race. Oh, this is terrible news for the Williams. And where has this put the BARs? So we've got Montoya and Barrichello still out of the points, with Ralph now having to catch these guys back up and start all over again, but he's all over the track. And the 4th place that he needs is disappearing. Michael's not at race speed. He's got a problem. He's coming in the pits. He's out of the race. So we didn't see what happened. Michael got into an incident and he's out of the race. And look at Bertie and Heidfeld. Heidfeld looked like he went for the move down the straight but didn't get it done. And here's Marquez and Ralph. Oh, Ralph is disappearing because there's a McLaren now about to lock out a podium slot, but he's in a fight. Look at the work that Ralph has given himself, and he's not made one place, and the title's looking over. And Panis and Villeneuve also can't make any waves. It's not a great track for overtaking, and it's perilous if you try. And what's going to happen here? Michael is still crawling around this track, and he's surely going to get caught. So you can see the positions that Ralph needs, that he was somewhere near, but that he's not got any chance of. Yeah, you can't, it's difficult, the track's so thin, you can't make moves. And this is why Marquez is on for a podium still. Look, you see, they get themselves dragged off the track. And Raikkonen finds himself out of the points. And look at Barrichello. Unfortunately, Montoya's going with him for now, but he's not in the points. But now the Constructors is looking dangerous. And it's all unravelling for Williams in the last race. Surely the Drivers' Championship's gone, even with Michael out of the race. Is that Michael back up to race speed? Yeah, so he's just going to circulate on his own to a lonely World Championship unless Ralph pulls a rabbit out of the hat. And he's getting the help to do it, but goodness me, he's behind that train. It's not happening, is it? And here comes Coulthard. No, he backed out. And someone else is off the track and look like a BAR. No, it's another Williams. It's Montoya. Oh dear. Oh, and there's a Jaguar. Has Cranny's taken out the... Goodness me. The other two are alright, I think. Or are they? But Irvine has taken out the Jordan and the Arrows. They're both having fits trying to sort themselves out. And Panis is off. And carnage in this race. These two are off going again, but they're well down the field. God knows what Michael's doing. Bertie's still leading. Coulthard's stolen third. Fortunately, Raikkonen has put mockers on Barrichello. Villeneuve's up to 11th. And Ralph is in 12th. And no one putting moves on people is causing problems. Oh, and Button is going to steal the place, and this is going to lock out the World Championship. Michael is going to win the World Championship. These guys are going to scamper away from Marquez, who's going to cause all sorts of problems behind him. And now it's just a case of whether Barrichello... See, Ralph has got himself back into a spot, but 12th. Oh dearie me. And they're sort of trying to... They're all trying to get past now. The Arrows. Verstappen's pushing his luck here, and he does go off the track. And does he collect Rubens? He slows Rubens down. Rubens is going to jump up. He's jumped up 2 places. And now Ferrari are a threat for the Constructors. And this is dreadful news for Williams. The Minardi block is the problem. You've still got these 2 Minardis in the points. So Michael's the world champion. And now all we're doing now is deciding whether Ferrari can get these 5 points they need to win the Constructors over Williams. And Barrichello's their only card. And Rubens, who was 7th, has dropped back to 10th. But still the 2 Williams can't do anything in this race. Problems there for Mazzacane, which will cause problems behind them, and does. And once again it's the Williams that's off the track. who's going to go for an excursion here. See, Barrichello's got the right idea, and it's Verstappen again, and goodness me, literally 14 points clear last race, and it's getting dangerous here. I think it's 4 points just enough for Williams. If Barrichello can only take Marquez, I think Williams are 5 points clear. Look at Barrichello, he's on the right line, and it's the guys behind him that pull out. Here comes Mazzacane. He still hasn't got the pace to do it. Is he gonna? He's gonna blast around the outside and take that spot. Is Marquez gonna hold him off? No, he's not. Oh, but he's got the inside line. That's good news for Williams. And Barrichello has dropped back. And one of the Williams has got in front of him. It's a Mazzacane, but I mean, goodness me. Bertie's on for the race win because Heidfeld can't do anything about him. Here comes Coulthard. Oh, mind you, DC. He might fancy a race win here. Oh, and that's a BAR that's just gone really wide. And what's happened to Rubens? Rubens has dropped back to 12th. And he's back there with Juan Pablo and Frentzen. That's good news for Williams. And how has Hakkinen ended up 18th? He's had problems somewhere. So we've got a battle for the lead here. Final race of the season. Not sure how many laps are left. Championships look decided. Who gets to take the prize on the last day of term? Oh, DC! DC! And what's this going to cause? Is he going to beat his own car? He's in the wall. And he's going to rejoin. This is going to be a dangerous rejoin. No. But it's going to cause mayhem. DC! A massive spin from third place. The race was there. How has Rubens Barrichello ended up back in it? It's not that high. But look, the points. What's happening with the points? Oh, dearie me. Alonso's got. What's happened to Marquez? He's getting passed by all sorts. Juan Pablo's trying to nip through. Come on, Juan Pablo. No, don't fall behind him. You fool. Coulthard maintained 5th place, yet all that time he lost shows you in that short space of time how much quicker he was than everybody. But he didn't even threaten these two. He caught up behind them and spun out. So Bertie, that's going to settle back down now, that battle, and Heidfeld won't be able to use Coulthard. And you've got his button. I'm almost scared to see what's going on behind. Mazzacane is Coulthard's gonna try and repass him, and he moves to the inside, and he should get that job done. Villeneuve, Alonso, and Raikkonen's gonna pass Alonso, is he? Should have a look back here and see if anyone's gone off. They haven't. It's all sort of calmed down a little bit. And it's like the adrenaline drains away. But Juan Pablo, both the way, look at, and here's Ralph at 9th. Oh, he's going to kick himself. Those early spins. He still can't get past the Minardi, look. Well, it was always a tough ask for Ralph. But he went off twice. And was the master of his own demise, from running up probably in 6th and being a couple of seconds away from the position he needed, and had he got it, it'd have been serene. He might have just had a few dramas getting past the guys in front of him because he'd have been quicker, but with Michael crashing out. But it hasn't happened, and look at this behind. Button wants to upset all this. And we can hear crowd cheering, I believe. And Luciano Berti is going to be the man on the last day of term. but a monumental fight behind. And we did just wonder the fact that there were a couple of 3 cars that could nip away, as the thin track didn't provide the most overtaking opportunities. But some of the on-track escapades have been fun, to say the least. It's like the AI has just gone, right, okay, look, Button's trying to go off, and look at that, he's poked his way up the inside. Is this literally the final corner? Bertie crosses the line. No, there's another lap. And side by side behind. Now, this means Bertie's under threat, I think. Oh, no. Shut the door firmly there, Heidfeld. But it means he just pushes up a little bit to Bertie. DC's in clear air. Blimey, the Williams, and so both Williams and the BAR up behind. Oh, look at that, look, Hakkinen still having dramas. Michael Schumacher setting the fastest lap from like a different postcode. As if to, like, his final, I'm the champion, eat my final lap, brother. And look at Button, he has worked second place, and I suspect he's going to have to work it some more. Not quite. He's not going to get a run at Bertie though, I don't think, unless he gets it here. And is he going to have a pop? Go on, Jensen. He's going to have a pop, you know. Oh, but he wasn't aggressive enough. And actually, it didn't cost him. Bertie is your race. Oh, Bertie's your race winner. Is Button going to hold on? He is. DC slowly catching back up after that crazy spin he had. Matsukane is going to hold off this Dysage. Look at this. Oh, Ralph. What could have been, mate? I don't think you even got that position. And the rest is now irrelevant. That man is the world champion, by the way, the one that we just briefly saw. But this man is your race winner. What a season. Oh, come on, Ralph, you had it, man. That race win, last race for Michael. What a drive that was. From like 15th, 16th. But the point system won out, and the guy who won the most races won the championship. And Williams, man, they blew it. Montoya, he could have had 2 more scores that would have brought him into contention. Well, that was some race. And yeah, it's basically Ralph got into the points, but 7th place only halved the deficit. And Michael was off into the distance despite having a dreadful race. The brothers collided. I think the brothers collided somewhere. They were both in a situation. I think maybe Ralph came off and Michael maybe hit him. And it's such a shame we didn't get the replay, because that would have been quite spectacular for the 2 contenders to end up, considering Ralph started something like 10th and Michael was 22nd, for the 2 contenders to suddenly come together. Ralph started making his way towards the points quickly, and then ended up on the wrong line down into that strange straight where everyone was running onto the grass and hitting the wall. And that really was the end, because Ralph couldn't make any gains after that. He couldn't get anywhere near where he needed to, and he's finished a good 3 places. He's finished a good 10-12 seconds behind where he needed to be. So not really at the races. I think Bertie, that might have been Jaguar's first win. I'm not sure. I'll check the standings. Button, it wasn't Button. I kept saying Button hit the wall, but it was I believe it was Raikkonen. I think it was Raikkonen that hit the wall early on. Button actually drove quite well and could have won the race. DC had a chance to win the race as well, but had a massive spin. And how unfortunate for the Minardis, who were in the points almost until that strange situation where Coulthard's spin caused a huge melee. I say a melee, it caused a bit of a pile-up, or a jam, I should say. And the Minardis really got chewed up in amongst all that, and it stopped them from being able to take a point. So fair play to Bertie. Ralph didn't do enough. Michael's nowhere to be seen, but Michael is the world champion. So just to confirm, Michael ended up well down the field, still on the lead lap though. Irvine's retirement when he spun and caused that massive crash involving 2 or 3 cars. And there isn't really much to talk about. I mean, Hakkinen had his standard average performance. He's been average all season. He sort of like disappears out of our little championship here, not really leaving much of a mark. Beaten comfortably by his teammate, I think. And it's a little bit of a shame to work out what happened to him. As for everybody else, the only other real disappointments here, Panis and Frentzen. Panis was a title contender at one time. Frentzen could have been, but just had a couple of moments that took him out, crucially, that he couldn't afford. But what an interesting season. And yeah, brilliant. Let's see what this has done to the final shake-up. So the bottom of the table, and it was indeed Jaguar's first win on the last day, and it meant that Bertie jumped up quite well, left his teammate trailing in his wake, which you wouldn't have thought. But fair play to him, Bertie wins the bottom half. Alonso, that first win, he was top at one point, dropped like a stone, and only finishes as third from bottom. I guess that's 20th in the standings. His teammate Marquez got 1 point score at Monaco. Other than that, only notable things is Alesi eventually got a hold of his teammate. Verstappen eventually got a hold of his, as you would expect in both of those situations. Truly finished well behind his teammate. So did Fisichella. And kind of those cars there are they're kind of the cars that you expected to be in those positions. There wasn't really any shock there. I would have thought though that Irvine, Trulli, and Fisichella would have been slightly better than that. So there you go then, the culmination of our season-long battle, and Michael takes it by just 2 points. 2 more wins on the board, far less podiums, and that 1 DNF, but the 2 out of 3 that he won at the start of the season and the 2 out of 3 that he won in the back end of the season, that really was the difference. That race there, a couple of races back, was at Indianapolis, where he took those Indy lines and ended up winning the race. How crucial was that? Ended up being massively important. And Ralph Williams, just in the last 2 or 3 races, there was the race where Ralph came through and passed Michael. Michael didn't. He started at the back end of the points and couldn't really improve, and Ralph came through. That was the last time Williams really threw a heavy punch. They kind of laboured a little bit towards the end of the season, almost like the finishing line freaked them out a little bit. Villeneuve had an interesting but awkward start because he kept getting 4th and 5th, which is good scoring. But one of the races, I think Brazil, he ended up on his roof. Didn't end up with a DNF, but it was as good as one. It really cost him. And he never really came back from that. So only finished 6 points behind though. And to leave his teammate 10 points back, because his teammate was ahead of him for most of the season. Villeneuve's no slouch on this game. And if we come back to it, it'd be interesting to see what he can do. Montoya in 4th, really, to be only 10 points back, given how many podiums he threw away. He was a contender, but he threw it away. And rookie season, fair play. He was a bit erratic, but yeah, that's kind of disappointing because he could have been right in there. Coulthard again as well. He could have been better than where he was, but he suffered a little bit from the Hakkinen syndrome. He got bogged down in the pack, and so did Barrichello. Those two just could not deal with the pack. Now the interesting thing here is that Frentzen did manage to upset the top 8. He got in there. You know, he actually finished 8th. So he beat Hakkinen. And he's technically best of the rest, but by being best of the rest, he encroached into the leading group. So what a performance from him. And how much further? He's 23 points back from the title. Could he have actually halved that had he not had that misfortune at Monaco? Excellent performance from him. And yeah, Button beating Heidfeld to 10th place, squeezing into the top 10. But I really enjoyed this season. Really, I enjoyed this season. There was a point at one stage where I was trying to do a race a night, and this is the problem why some of my recordings are a little bit quiet, because it was like, God, damn whatever o'clock and people were in bed, and I couldn't, as much as I wanted to jump out of my skin at some of the things, it probably should have been a little bit more patient and waited for moments where I could have made a proper audio recording. But I hope you enjoyed this has largely been an experiment, as I've mentioned, but I've found it really good fun, and fair play to Michael. He laid in there quietly and struck like a cobra. He really struck when he needed to, and he is our first champion. BMW Williams win the Constructors' Championship by 8 points. BAR closed to Ferrari down to 2. This Ferrari really struggled. Once Michael crashed, Rubens just got back into his same old kind of grinding away, looking threatening, falling back, looking threatening, falling back. The BARs couldn't quite. Panis really in the back end of the season just started to struggle when he spun out in Japan. I'm not sure what happened to him. Probably got pushed onto the gravel somehow. But they only end up 10 points back from Williams. The real stragglers were McLaren, who finished just 16 points ahead of the battling Jordan and Benettons, which is not great. That's within 1-1-2. And look at the gap. 20 points behind BAR and 30 points behind Williams. They really struggled. The 2 DNFs don't help, but you don't imagine that they would have made, there was 20 points in those 2 DNFs. Even in the subsequent race where they might have finished further up the field, there just wasn't 20 points there for them. There hasn't really been that all season. Really disappointing for Minardi, who I was kind of hoping were going to finish off the bottom, but to be fair to Prost, Jaguar and here in their Arrows, they had better second halves of the season, and you can see they picked up some nice points. The thing I didn't mention in the driver's standings was the fact that Michael finished on 59 points. That's a low point score. That's quite encouraging, because it means that the points were spread throughout the field, and you could see that they were. Even though the contenders came through, it was close, and 1 or 2 difficult situations could lead to them struggling. So it wasn't clear cut, I don't think, although, you might say, well, the top 4 were the top 4. Yes, but they had to battle to get that. They really had to battle. So fair play to Williams. They're our first champions with 1 race win less than Ferrari. So you could say, okay, there's a bit of a thing there. We're going to have a quick look at how it would have been with the current points standings. And I shall do a top 10 for both of those. Well, there's only 11 teams, so we'll have a look at that as well. Fair play to Williams. As I said, they're our first champions. Get in! I remember at the start of the season saying that if Williams only end up with the cons, I'd be more than happy with that. And they did. And I far from expected it. So, fair play to Williams. So, the investigative journalists amongst you might be interested to know about the alternative point score, the modern day point score. And you can see that there is pretty much not a lot of difference. Just a slight expansion maybe of the points gaps. The only real notable thing is Frentzen is knocked out of the top 8 by 2 points, and Button is knocked out of the top 10 on countback due to Heidfeld and him just having there's just a few points amended in there where the rewards for lower positions more so through the season has helped those guys out. You can see the rest of the standings is exactly the same, just with a little bit more or less gap between them. And given that I think Michael won the standings by 2 points in the other point score, he's got a 12-point gap here. But I think I'm obliged to keep the same point scoring system. This is probably more of a fairer reflection of race wins. But this is a computer game, and what we're going for here is competition, and I like the 10-8 system for this particular thing. We're going to run with it in 2002, and I think in 2002, where you have the possibilities for wider margins between cars, problems with reliability, there could be big gaps in 2002. So we're going to keep this point system as the 10-8. I mean, if anyone sort of stuck this out throughout and you have your own opinion, feel free to leave it in the comments. 12 points as opposed to sort of 2 points. Yep, we're going to keep the same system, as I said. And actually, if we have a look at the cons, it isn't too much different there either. Yeah, I don't think that there were any changes in position here. you've simply got just wider margins and higher scores. It's intriguing because I like both point scoring systems, but as mentioned, for the sake of a computer game, we're going to keep it as close as possible. But that really is the end of 2001 for sure. Now that's the end of the whole series, and we're going to be back shortly for 2002. We already have a few races done of that season. It was a very interesting start. We're going to go for something a little bit different next. We're going to have a look at an AI situation on SmackDown Shut Your Mouth on the PS2. We've got an idea of what we're going to do with that, but we'll wait until we do an intro. I think the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do something quite random. So next time I upload, expect something from the WWE world from the early 2000s and a little bit of fun with a Spectator AI riot. But once again, if you've stuck this out, thank you very much. Thank you for the 3 subscribers. I didn't expect much from this this is a very niche, kind of geeky. My brother referred to it as being slightly odd, but it was a long winter and I wanted some Formula 1 action, and PSL inspired me to do this. So I hope you've enjoyed the ride, and I hope as we go forwards I get a little bit better at doing this, a little bit less Gypsy Fairground, Traveller Fairground. Oh, travellers, if you're listening, I apologise. A little bit less Traveller Fairground and a little bit more, how can I put it, IMAX Park. Until next time, guys.